The fastest pitches thrown in MLB history. Mason Miller. Mason Miller didn't arrive quietly. He showed up throwing absolute violence and dared hitters to keep up. A former college starter converted into a bullpen nightmare, Miller quickly became one of baseball's most uncomfortable at-bats. His fastball regularly lives above 102 miles per hour, and in 2024, he officially joined the 104 club by hitting 104.5 on StatCast, making him the slowest member on this list, but maybe the most ominous. What separates Miller isn't just peak velocity, it's how often he threatens it. His average fastball routinely sits near triple digits, a level most pitchers only sniff once a season. Hitters know it's coming and still swing late. That's intimidation. Miller pairs that heat with a wipeout slider that tunnels off the fastball, forcing batters to guess wrong at impossible speeds. But it gets crazier. Despite the radar gun hype, Miller's real value is command. In 2024, he posted elite strikeout rates while limiting hard contact, proving he isn't just throwing hard for highlights. There's speculation his arm still has another gear as teams carefully monitor his workload and scouts quietly whisper that his current ceiling might not be the final one yet. Joel Zumaya. Joel Zumaya looked like he was trying to tear a hole through the universe every time he threw a baseball. Drafted by Detroit and unleashed in 2006, Zumaya didn't ease into the league, he detonated inside it. His delivery was violent, explosive, and borderline reckless, but hitters didn't care how it looked because they couldn't touch it. That season, Zumaya threw a fastball clocked at 104.8 miles per hour, making him the first pitcher in decades to officially crack the 104 barrier in the modern radar era. At the time, people thought the machine was broken. It wasn't. Zumaya backed it up by striking out hitters at an absurd rate and turning late innings into survival drills. But that wasn't all. The same torque that made him terrifying also made his arm fragile. Elbow issues, shoulder problems, and freak injuries piled up, including one infamous incident involving a video game that still gets debated today. His peak was short but unforgettable. For a brief moment, Zumaya reminded baseball what unchecked velocity looked like, and he reopened a door the sport didn't know how to close again. Joeann Durán. Joeann Durán doesn't look like he's throwing hard, which somehow makes it worse. Calm, relaxed, almost bored, Durán delivers pitches that arrive like jump scares. Signed as a teenager and later traded before most people noticed him, Durán exploded onto the scene in 2022 with velocity that didn't feel real. His fastball routinely sat above 101, but the real chaos came in 2023 when he unleashed a pitch clocked at 104.8 miles per hour. Hitters reacted late, catchers braced for impact, and radar guns barely kept up. But that's not all. Durán pairs his fastball with the splinker, a pitch that moves like a splitter but arrives at sinker velocity, sometimes touching triple digits itself. That combination turned plate appearances into guessing games with no correct answer. Statistically, he ranked among the league leaders in strikeout rate while limiting barrels, proving the velocity wasn't empty. It gets crazier when you realize he does this without visible effort. Coaches rave about his mechanics, and there's constant speculation that he could touch even higher numbers if fully unleashed. Durán doesn't overpower hitters emotionally. He erases them quietly, which might be scarier. Jordan Hicks. Jordan Hicks didn't climb the minor league ladder. He skipped steps and broke expectations. Called straight from A-ball to the majors in 2018, Hicks arrived throwing harder than almost anyone alive. His sinker lived above 100 miles per hour, and on one unforgettable day, he fired not one, but two pitches clocked at 105.1 miles per hour. One of them caught the zone, officially becoming the fastest strike ever recorded by StatCast. The frightening part was how easy it looked. No max effort, no violent recoil, just smooth heat. Hitters swung like it was self-defense. Hicks combined that velocity with heavy movement, producing ground balls at elite rates and forcing weak contact when batters actually made contact at all. But it gets worse. That kind of stress eventually takes a toll. In 2019, his elbow gave out, leading to Tommy John surgery and a long recovery. Some thought the velocity would disappear. It didn't. Hicks returned still throwing triple digits, proving his arm wasn't a fluke. Hicks showed that extreme velocity could look effortless, and that changed how teams evaluated power pitchers forever. Ben Joyce. Ben Joyce feels less like a pitcher and more like a prototype that escaped a lab. Built like a defensive end and throwing like a missile launcher, Joyce first went viral in college at Tennessee when he casually uncorked a pitch measured at 105.5 miles per hour. That wasn't adrenaline or luck. That was raw output. Drafted by the Angels, Joyce arrived in professional baseball already throwing harder than almost everyone alive. By 2024, he matched that same 105.5 reading in the majors, officially placing him among the fastest throwers ever recorded. What makes Joyce terrifying is that he pairs that velocity with a power slider that breaks late, forcing hitters to decide before the ball even leaves his hand. Statistically, his strikeout rate spiked immediately, and batters struggled to square anything up, even when guessing fastball. But that's not all. Joyce has openly said he believes he can throw harder, and that belief alone makes pitching coaches nervous. Teams carefully manage his workload because history has shown what happens when velocity outruns durability. Still, Joyce represents the modern extreme, a pitcher optimized for radar readings the sport once thought impossible. Aroldis Chapman. Aroldis Chapman didn't just break the radar gun, he ruled it. When Chapman debuted in 2010, hitters immediately realized something had changed. His fastball didn't just arrive fast, it arrived angry. That same year, Chapman unleashed a pitch clocked at 105.8 miles per hour, the fastest officially recorded pitch in StatCast history, and a number that still hasn't been topped. That pitch earned him a Guinness World Record, but it wasn't an outlier. Chapman lived in the triple digits. Over his career, he threw 9 of the 12 fastest StatCast pitches ever recorded, turning late innings into controlled chaos. Batters knew what was coming and still swung late. Statistically, Chapman piled up over 1,100 strikeouts and anchored elite bullpens for more than a decade. But it gets crazier. Even as his velocity dipped with age, he still reached triple digits in his mid-30s, something most pitchers never do once. Chapman's dominance sparked constant debate about whether anyone would ever surpass him cleanly under modern tracking. For years, he sat alone at the top, daring the next generation to chase him. Bob Feller. Before radar guns, before StatCast, before modern biomechanics, Bob Feller was already throwing harder than anyone else alive. Pitching in the 1930s and 1940s, Feller's fastball became legend because hitters simply could not see it. In 1946, his velocity was measured using motorcycle timing methods and estimated at 107.6 miles per hour, a number that still sounds fake today. While unofficial, no serious historian doubts Feller's elite speed. Teammates described his fastball as explosive, and opponents spoke about it with fear decades later. Feller didn't rely on advanced training. He built his arm through raw strength, endurance, and repetition, then paused his career to serve during World War II. When he returned, his arm somehow seemed stronger. Statistically, Feller led the league in strikeouts multiple times, threw the only opening day no-hitter in history, and dominated without mercy. But that's not all. His delivery included a violent leg kick and whip-like arm action that modern analysts believe would still generate triple-digit velocity today. Feller wasn't just ahead of his time, he existed outside it. Nolan Ryan. Nolan Ryan stands at the absolute peak of pitching velocity mythology. In 1974, a radar gun measured one of his fastballs at 100.9 miles per hour 10 feet from home plate. When adjusted back to the release point using modern physics models, that pitch calculates to roughly 108 miles per hour, the hardest pitch ever credibly documented. Unlike others on this list, Ryan did this as a starter, repeatedly, across multiple decades. He pitched until age 46, threw 7 no-hitters, and finished with 5,714 strikeouts, a record that still feels untouchable. Ryan's mechanics were violent, yet repeatable. Powered by relentless conditioning and unmatched durability, hitters feared him not just because of velocity, but because of intimidation. He didn't nibble, he attacked. It gets crazier when you realize he maintained elite speed deep into games and late into his career. While debates will always exist about measurement accuracy, no pitcher has ever combined longevity, volume, and raw speed like Ryan. He wasn't chasing radar readings. He was daring hitters to survive. If you like this video, consider watching this next one, which YouTube thinks you are going to really love.